Okay, welcome. This is going to be my video on how to use this tabletop router here at Pleasant Grove High School. First thing I want to cover is the type of bits that we can use on here. This is a very versatile tool, has tons of different types of cutting bits, so for all different types of operations. First, there's just a straight bit. All right, this is a 2-flute straight bit, 1/4 inch. All right, this would be cutting a groove down your piece of wood, kind of like what we're going to do for our whiteboards to slide into. This is the size that we're going to use. This is a 1/8 inch single flute straight bit. We have roller bits. This is for fillets or rounds, where you have a ball bearing to run against the edge of your stock, so you have consistent round throughout the edge. Just the same thing, but opposite. There are dovetail bits to cut different types of grooves in your wood, pointed bits, and lastly, some round off bits. This is the kind of bit we're going to use to have that pen groove on our bottom piece. There's many more bits. I encourage you to look at them. We have a decent supply of bits. So if you guys have any specific cuts you want to make or something like that, just let me know. We can work with that. Okay, first thing we're going to do is how to adjust the router for our proper use. When I say adjust it, you're going to raise the height of this, which raises the depth of bit. First thing you want to do, our router has a set screw underneath here that you have to loosen before you can go ahead and raise or lower the collet here. I'm going to go ahead and put in our 1/8 inch single flute straight bit. I'll go ahead and insert it into the collet like so. About halfway down should be just fine. We have some tools up here. There's 2 nuts on here, a lower and an upper. I'm going to go ahead and hold one down, and then go ahead and tighten the other one. Just give it a nice firm tight. You should be good there. Go ahead and put your tools back. This is the tool we use to raise and lower this. There's a screw right here. Again, don't forget to loosen the set screw here, and turning it counterclockwise will lower that bit down. All right, so I've lowered it down flush with that down there. Now, I'm going to go ahead and adjust my height. As a general rule, all right, until you're more comfortable, this is a 1/8 inch bit, therefore my depth of cut, how deep my groove is going to go. Essentially, the height of this bit off this table, I'm going to say is that make it 1/8 of an inch. A 1/4 inch bit, you can probably get away with a 1/4 inch. All right, that's a pretty aggressive cut. You'll have to get a feel for how deep you can go on a single pass. But obviously, if you're taking off too much wood on a single pass, you're going to have an unhappy result. You're going to have burning, you're going to have chip outs or blowouts in your wood, and you don't want that. I'd rather you make multiple small passes than one large pass. So to go ahead, there is a dial on here where one full rotation of this will raise or lower this bit 1/8 of an inch. Or I recommend just using a piece of scrap wood and then taking the measure, which I'll show you here. Put my tool back. Now, that's my desired height for this one. Don't forget to go back and tighten this set screw, because this will loosen or lower or raise as you're going in and doing this operation. Now, with this particular router, the way it's rotating, you're going to want to move your stock through the router bit from right to left. You can go the other way. It's rotating in this direction. Therefore, if you're going from left to right, it's going to want to pull your wood across that way, which is fine. That's okay. Just make sure that you're aware of that, and you're going to have to kind of position your hands a little more firmly against your wood so it doesn't pull it out and make an unwanted cut. This particular router is set up where there's a switch over here on the side. Not sure if you can see that, but there's a switch over here on the side that's going to turn on both the router and the vacuum. All right. You always want the fence here with this opening right over that router hole. That way, this vacuum is actually removing debris as it goes. In terms of our fence, The distance away from the router bit will measure on a practice cut. It doesn't have to be necessarily parallel to this edge right here. That's not a requirement of the fence. You'll always get the same distance. There's only one point here. So no matter what angle the fence is, you're gonna get the same distance along the edge of your stalk right here. So I'll just go ahead and tighten it down. And I'll go ahead and hit my switch over here to turn on. Wait for it to come to a complete stop before you walk away, and then take a look at your cut. Now, this is where I get most of my measurements from. I'll go ahead and clear out my sawdust that's inside my groove right there. And my distance, the distance my fence is away from my bit, I'll measure. All right, that's 1 inch away. And then I'll go ahead and measure the depth as well by putting this into my groove, and I was down 1/8 of an inch. All right, I'll go ahead and make a second pass. As long as I don't move my fence, my second pass will be right in that same groove. Loosening my set screw, grabbing my adjustment tool, tightening this back down. Now, I'm going to go ahead and make a second pass. Again, right in the same groove, because I've never adjusted my fence. And now I'm down 1/4 of an inch deep. To remove the bit or change the bit, again, I'll probably clear my fence out of the way, moving that all the way back, loosening my set screw, and raising my entire router all the way up. Holding down my bottom piece, I'll pop that loose. Now, with these straight bits, single flute or double flute, doesn't matter. I don't recommend grabbing it and pulling it out. It's still pretty snug in there, and I've cut my thumb pretty bad pulling a bit out, and it just runs across that sharp edge right there. I recommend at least getting it loose with some needle nose pliers, and it can pop right out that way. With some of these bits that have a base on like this, where there's actually a spot to put underneath, I've been able to pull out without using pliers. Whenever, if you're not comfortable with that, always use the pliers. That's about it. A couple things to remember: depth of cut, the speed at which you're moving across the router as well. If you go too slow, you'll have burning. If you go too fast, you'll have like choppiness to your cut. You won't have a nice smooth edge. Practice with scrap wood. Always use a piece of scrap wood, and then you can take your measurements, the distance away from the fence, and the depth of your cut as well. All right? Then before you actually do your final pieces, you know it's all set up the way you want. That's my video. Thank you.